Now I'm going to take a minute to talk about the roles of the fingers on the bow and their placement. There's no hard and fast rule about this. Everyone's hand is different, but there are some bow holds that really look lovely. I mean, they're just awesome. And after looking at a few of those, they have some things in common. One is that they tend to be nice and curved. I already talked about that with all the fingers being gently curved, nothing ever sticking out like this or bent backwards. The other is, most of them tend to have the middle finger roughly over the ferrule, which is this shiny part of silver right here. And if you have your thumb in the frontmost position, where it actually touches the pernambuco, you might be a little bit farther, almost touching the hair maybe. If you have it back in the frog, you're going to slide back a bit. And in general, depending on the width of your hand, your pinky's going to ride down the back side of the frog. I've had some people say that they think it should be on the eye, but I find that makes students kind of curve their pinky like this, thinking that that's where it goes, but really these fingers just kind of flop. Now, after you've got these fingers flopping kind of, you're going to find that these middle two don't have as much of a role to play as the outer ones do in holding the bow when it's in the middle of the air. Really, you can take these off and hold it just with your outer ones, and it should feel kind of like you were breaking a pencil between your outer fingers and your thumb. And that the force direction goes right through the middle of the stick. You aren't rolling it one way or the other. You have all your fingers curved, and you just kind of set the bow on these wrinkles that are the last knuckle wrinkle on the underside of your fingers. You set the bow across that, and then you just have the thumb kind of gently push the bow into them. And then when you turn it over, it has a nice curved, rounded look. Sometimes you'll see this muscle here flexing. That's completely normal. That's a muscle. It's okay to flex it. Once you have these fingers flopping and the outer fingers kind of acting to hold the bow, using the thumb pushing between them, you can kind of get this symmetric nature of the two hands, where they kind of mirror each other. Your first finger is slightly forward on each hand, and you can actually imagine that you have equal spacing between these fingers and between the same fingers on your other hand. It doesn't have to be like that, but I find it's more comfortable actually if I think of the two hands kind of having a similar position. Okay, now I need to talk about the role of the index finger and the thumb. And I use them as like a counter lever where the thumb acts against the index finger to move the bow. I can actually hold the bow against the string using just my thumb and my index finger. They're working, the thumb is holding up the back side of the bow, and the index finger is holding the bow against the string. And you can see I can completely freely wiggle the back half of my hand and still not drop the bow. In fact, I can even pull a nice sound just with those two fingers. It gets a little harder if you get too close to the frog like this. But just to get a feel for holding the bow, kind of playing with a flat hair, with just those two fingers, it lets you feel the way they should transfer the weight of your arm to the string. Now, the muscles I use to hold the bow with just the index finger and the thumb like this are the same muscles I use to start every sound I make with the instrument, with the bow anyway. They're what I use to transfer the weight of the arm to the string. And you can see it, I can actually flex the three different suspension systems that are in the bow and instrument: the hair, the string, and the stick. You can see them all flexing. And then I can actually load the string in either direction by pulling with my index finger, like as if I was plucking the string right here on the bow. You can see I've got this kind of a pluck and pluck in the opposite direction. When I do that, if you can see my index finger, I'm actually plucking, and you can see the string moving as if my finger was on the string. And that's all plucking in a down bow direction. Now the weird thing about the bow is sometimes you have to pluck in the up bow direction, which is just the opposite of what you would normally do if you were actually plucking the string. Okay, so we've talked about loading the string with just the thumb and index finger and being able to cock it to either side, loading it with energy from either side with the plucking action of the first finger through the bow into the string. That's one aspect of starting a note. The other aspect involves the rest of your arm. And depending on the type of sound I'm trying to produce, I will mentally be thinking about different parts of my arm. Generally for a long note, I'm going to be thinking of the finger and the thumb to cock the string. I'm going to lay the weight of my upper arm and basically my whole arm on top of it. Now the string is loaded pretty well, and then I'm just going to kind of release the string. It's hard to explain exactly what I'm doing, but with my finger I'm actually kind of plucking slightly, and then I allow my arm to move at a steady speed. And you can hear that at the beginning of that there was a nice pluck sound. Just straight to an immediate sound with no delay. The same exact thing applies to an up bow. You cock the string thinking of your finger and your thumb. You kind of, through the stick, you feel the string. You feel the string flex. You can see it flex if you look up close, and I'm getting a couple little burps. The goal is that you don't want to get any burps as you're cocking the string. You should be able to flex all three suspension systems and pull the string, there I let it go again, and pull the string to the side like this. And I'm using not just my index finger, but my whole arm on the up bow especially. But I am thinking of the first finger to kind of cock it. And then after I've cocked the string with my finger and my thumb, I lay the weight of my arm on it, then I think of that release again, the same way you think of releasing a pizzicato. And the trick to it is making sure that after you've released it, you keep the bow moving at a nice steady speed so that the tone doesn't change a lot, if you want a steady tone. Of course, you can use that to make all sorts of variations in tone after you've started it. The hardest part is getting the string to speak at the first instant, and I think that this relationship to the pizzicato helps. At least it's helped me to kind of clarify how to play clean.